Hey, what's up, y'all? Come on in. Hey, Noemi. Hey, Gretchen. What's up, Chicago? Thank you, Lex. Hi, Allie. Hey, thank you so much, Noemi. Oh, hi, Leah. What's up, Spain? Oh my gosh, Sweden. Hi, Emily. That's amazing. Oh, sorry, y'all. I got this microphone here that hopefully will improve my audio quality. Thank you, Squirrel. Thanks, y'all. Y'all are too kind. All right, let's see. Summer. So, Summer, thank you for the comment. We're just gonna jump right in. You guys know how I do. I'm really just here to record my next YouTube video, obviously to hang out with y'all as well. I love reading the comments. I think the lives work really well as long form videos, so I will be checking in on comments. That's why I got my glasses on. Hopefully, I won't have to be like this close to the screen to read them. But I wanted to just chat today about the serious question, like the legitimate, like I'm not joking, I'm not being facetious, I'm not trolling, I'm not rage baiting, I'm not doing any of that stuff. I'm literally asking, what do men bring to the table for women? Like, as far as actually benefiting a woman in any way, I guess is my question. And Summer says in Balkan and Middle Eastern countries, a man's presence adds social capital and status. And I think that while that may be true, I think that that can only be true if men first hoard the social capital and status away from women. Because, like, when I ask what do men bring to the table, I also mean like society wise, like what is the majority of men doing to make society a better place, to make this world a better place, right? And so when you get to a point where you have to first discredit women and take away their social capital and status, and the only way for a woman to have that is to have a man, that's an artificial environment that you had to create in order to withhold status and social capital from women in order to then be able to say you need a man in order to have that. Also, I would argue that in like, even if that were the case, even if in some countries, like having a man's presence would add social capital and status, once again, how much is he benefiting at the same time? Like, what are women expected to do in those instances in exchange for the quote unquote social capital and status of a man? Are they still expected to like give birth? Are they still expected to know how to cook, clean, and do all of that stuff? Do they have any rights of their own? No. Well, that's why a man's presence adds social capital and status. That only happens when women don't have rights. All right, let's go through the comments. I can already tell they're gonna be good. Thanks for saying I look pretty, y'all. I'm trying out a new setup out in my living room and there's a lot of natural light, so I appreciate it. Somebody says, wait, why don't you encourage not dating men instead of vetting them? I do encourage not dating men. My honest advice is don't date men, but some women want to date men. Like, I don't know, I'm married, so like I get it. I get what it's like to be straight, a straight woman, and sometimes you're willing to take the risk. And I only tell, aw, and I only tell women to, thank you, Ella. And I only tell women to ever take that risk if you have every avenue of like getting out. You have your own money, you have like a place you can move back into, or you have like at least people you can crash with. Like, you have to be completely set up to be able to leave that relationship at the drop of a hat. And those are like my conditions. If you are going to date men or even like go out there and put yourself in like men's presence, you should always have a way out. But in general, like, yeah, I would say, considering that I started dating and married my husband like 13 years ago, the landscape has changed almost entirely since then. And not for any bad reasons, like only because women have gotten more independent since then and men have gotten a lot more like disempowered because of it and they're lashing out. And so I just, in good faith, cannot really tell women to go out there and date right now, even though the reason we have this like hostile climate towards women is because we have been like succeeding and, you know, being able to be independent without men. But they're like really lashing out right now. And I would say like dating men is just a dangerous game. And like I'm speaking from like 13 years ago. So I try really hard not to give dating or vetting advice, but there are a lot of women that want to date men. Like, you can't help You know what I mean? You can't help how you feel. Meowsta says, in response to what do men bring to the table? Oxytocin and cuddles and sometimes acts of service, but mostly suffering, LOL. Exactly. So the benefits that they bring to women are mostly fleeting. And I will say that in some countries, they have like cuddle cafes where you can just pay to cuddle with a man for a few hours and get your oxytocin release if that's something that you really need. I would also say pets are great for that. I would also say like you can have like a plushie or something like that that will probably be more consistent in making you feel like safe and releasing your oxytocin just as much as like some random man whose chemical effects on you are always going to be outweighed by the suffering that he brings you. Blissful says, I like the lippy. Thank you. This is actually an eyeshadow. Summer says, I've gotten bullied for being a single woman by people from these cultures. Yeah, it makes sense because women have been so devalued in those cultures that they can't picture decentering men. You know, that's why, like, even there's the other side of that too, like the very, I don't want to say extremist, but the very like radical side of the 4B movement that's like you literally cannot be around a man without decentering them. It's like a step in the right direction, but I think when you come out on the other side of that like kind of feminism bell curve where it's like you kind of get over the initial hump of like you have to like physically like literally decenter men, like the only way to actually put decentering men into practice is to like decenter them to their face. So you get to a point, but and you get to a point where you can be married while decentering men. You get to a point where you can date while decentering men. That's why most of like your favorite creators in this ecosystem are dating or are married or have a man. Like it is what it is, but you get to a point where you're like, I can decenter a man to his face. I don't actually need to be like completely like celibate or like separatist or whatever, while I do think those are amazing and valid and honestly beautiful options. You know what I mean? If you're not like hetero per se, you know what I mean? I'm going to quote Paul from the Bible. If your loins are not burning with the fire of passion or whatever, don't do it. Don't worry about it. You know, I feel like a lot of women are meant to be independent. The longer that I've sort of observed the realities of like dating men and like just being around men in general, like I would never mess with a man if something happened between me and my husband, or like, God forbid, you know, the worst happened. Like, I would never be out in the streets again because I think women replace oftentimes their true potential and like their ability to like do the things that they truly feel passionate about and like things that would save them from this like hypothetical idea of loneliness because they're too busy chasing men. Like, you know, the reason I know I'm meant to be with my husband is because I wouldn't be doing a single damn thing differently if I was single. Like, I know what I want to be doing. It's this, and I would be doing it whether I was single or not. Being married has never kept me from like pursuing anything that I've wanted to pursue, and being married has never informed the things that I pursue. And that's part of like why we don't have kids, is because we want to be able to have that flexibility. But yeah, let's see. All right, so Lao says, better question is, what does anyone bring to the table? Well, I am super ready to answer that question, Laos. So what does anyone bring to the table? So women in general, like these are scientific statistics, right? Women in general are like good for each other, they're good for men, and they're good for the community. So that's what women bring to the table on like a very, very basic level, without even mentioning the like individual benefits that they would provide to a man in a relationship. But like men live longer when they're married to women. Men have better health outcomes when they're married to women. Men have better career outcomes when they're married to women. And the only way for men to quote unquote continue their legacy, or just even plain and simple reproduce or whatever, is to trap a woman into doing it, for better or for worse. You know what I mean? So that's what women bring to the table. Women bring life to the table. Women bring community to the table. And women bring tangible health benefits to the table. So now my question once again is, what do men bring to the the table because I struggle to see the same benefits returned on the other side, right? What men bring to the table, to the world community table, as is evidenced by cold hard facts and statistics that do not care about your feelings, okay? What men bring to the table is war, crime, murder, rape, assault, violence. That's what men bring to the table. 90% and more of those crimes are committed by men. The perpetrators of those crimes are men. So I guess, if you want to call it that, that's what men bring to the table, but why would anybody want that? Like if I show up to the table with this home cooked meal, a home cooked dessert, the table has a tablecloth on it, like all this stuff, and you bring a GUN and you threaten my life, like I don't want to sit at the fucking table with you. I want to take my shit and go somewhere else. I don't even need a table at this point. Like, let me just be by myself because I brought earnest contributions to the table. And on the other side, somebody came just to consume and then possibly be violent towards me. So I'm like 100+ comments behind at this point. But yeah, Laos, if you have anything to say to that, please go ahead. Paidi Noir says, at this point, I think all they can bring is children and a family, but they kind of ruin that too. I know you're saying this in good faith, but that's like wrong because women are the ones that bring children and a family. I have never seen a man birth a child, never seen a man breastfeed a child, and men are not the gatekeepers of family. Promise you, I guarantee you this, the loneliest women in the world are married. And their real family is going to be like their mom or their friends or their sisters that actually helps them out and that actually has their back. It's not going to be a man. The man is out there cheating on them and complaining that they let themselves go after having kids. Jerry says 90% of all labor and construction is done by men. One could say men built the world. I have lots of responses to this. Firstly, were women allowed to build the world with y'all, and who made those laws? Was it women that made the laws that women couldn't work? No? Okay. So women would have happily built the world alongside with y'all if it weren't for that. Secondly, even though women are allowed to work those hard labor and construction jobs now, guess what kind of jobs have the highest rates of SA, harassment, and gender discrimination? Exactly. Those. So right then and there, y'all are deliberately keeping women out of these jobs so that you can hold it over our heads, which is once again a simulated and fake environment. That's what I'm here to try and bring awareness to. The simulated and fake environment that men have to create in order to make it seem like they bring something to the table. And the reason I'm reading like the troll and like men's responses to this is exactly to illustrate this, because this is the number one thing that they're going to say. 90% of all labor and construction is done by men. One could say men built the world. Fine. Fine. Where would all those buildings be right now? Where would all that labor and construction be right now if y'all didn't have women? What world would there be? Like, what is the world actually made up of? Is it made up of labor and construction and buildings? Do you know that people existed before there were buildings? People like lived in caves and huts and stuff, and nobody like those were easy to build or find or whatever. So if y'all didn't have women, you wouldn't have a society. There wouldn't be a need for labor and construction. Women created the people that exist in the world. Do you know what I mean? You can build all the buildings you want and it won't fucking matter if there's no people. I mean, you know what I mean? Like downtowns past the year 2020 are just proof of that. You can build all the buildings you want, but if there's not people to fill them, then the buildings are just going to stand there. So, yeah, it's a pretty unimpressive accomplishment when you really think about it. And like nobody asked y'all to do that. Nobody asked y'all to do that. Ivan says food people bring at the table. How many of y'all can cook? How many of you can do like a normal grocery store shopping trip without like forgetting everything or like getting everything wrong? How many men can do that? Y'all don't even know how to deal with food. Like, don't piss me off. Peyton, thank you so much. Peyton said the glasses eat. It's Kita says, what makes your man different from other men? I benefit from my marriage. Like he brings something to the table. So that's what I'm talking about. What I don't want to do with my content is cross the line of bioessentialism and say that this is somehow men's nature. It's not men's nature. It's entirely, almost entirely their socialization. I believe that as humans, what our self-awareness gives us is a chance to transcend our nature, and men are not taking that chance. And it is very frustrating and sad and debilitating to watch because my husband brings so much to the table, right? He's the reason I'm still doing this. He hypes me up so much about my content every single day. He encouraged me to do this. He's very supportive of this. I can give y'all like the general things too, but obviously he's like very emotionally supportive. He is very emotionally intelligent. He's smart. The man like reads nonstop, listens to podcasts and videos and stuff like from my mutuals, from people that are smarter than us. He's always trying to process information. He's extremely like wise relationally. He's taught me a lot about relationships that I wasn't like capable of doing before because I had some like unhealthy patterns because one of my parents was like not a nice person. And yeah, overall he brings a lot of value. Like for example, this past week I was like, I'm just really hitting a breaking point with like where just how our apartment is set up. Like I'm realizing like I'm going to be probably working from home from now on for a long time and I'm just not well set up to do it, and I'm just kind of it's causing me to like lose my mind every single day. And like literally the next day we're at IKEA, we're like picking things out, and that's what he brings to the table. Like anything that I want to do, he's like, "Okay, let's do it." Like, "Oh, is one of my mods here?" Thanks, y'all. Sorry, y'all. The comments are going so fast. Okay. All right. Life is Strange says men bring society, infrastructure, buildings, technology, philosophy, science. Once again, all of those things would be useless without the people that women create. So y'all are doing that right. Anything that men can claim that they're doing, you're automatically doing that off the back of a woman. Also, most men would not be capable of producing technology, science, philosophy, or whatever without a woman's free labor. Also, a lot of these philosophy, science, technology discoveries were made first by women, but men just got to take credit for it because women were not allowed in the public sphere. Somebody keeps asking, what do you tend to gain by spreading this rhetoric about shaming happily married women? Do y'all realize I'm a happily married woman? Do y'all realize that? I'm a happily married woman. I've been married for 13 years. My husband is amazing. He brings everything and then some to the table. So, how am I shaming happily married women? I'm not sure. The point is that if you are not directly benefiting from a man's presence, then he's not bringing anything to the table. I can count for y'all. I can list off the top of my head like 100 ways in which just being around a woman, and I already have done this, benefits a man in many, many ways, in many like tangible and like ways that you can't really put a price on, right? Like what price do you put on an extra like 3 to 5 years of life? That's priceless. What price can you put on a woman giving life to your seed? That's priceless. Do you know what I mean? Like the risks that women take for men just to receive like dead nothing in return, that's what pisses me off. That's the kind of rhetoric I'm trying to spread. That if a man does not care about benefiting you, he is literally a leech and like a parasite. And he's not bringing anything to the table. He's just there to suck your blood. Like, yeah, Bella V says we are seeing how males won't work unless they have a woman. So all of this stuff that's like men built society and everything like that, y'all wouldn't even be doing that if you didn't have women to do all the other invisible labor. All right, Abel says, how about this brilliant idea? What about co-interdependency? I don't know, just a thought. Well, that's like my solution, but once again, to have co-interdependency, both parties would have to be bringing something to the table. This is a cop out for most men. When men say, oh, we need each other, it's not that just men need women, we need each other. That's bullshit. Women clearly do not need y'all. because y'all bring nothing to the table, like as a whole. You know what I mean? Like, once again, people are going to ask, well, what's your husband? As a whole, as a general, yes, there are men that are exceptions. They're very few and far in between. You will likely know when you have found one. But co-interdependency does not make sense if on the large, men are bringing nothing to the table. Not only that, they're failing an open notes test. Like, now that we have the internet, women have come out and spoken about what they would actually like to see from men that would make it easy for women to date, marry, have children, all that. And the men are like, no, like, we're not going to do any of that. But now we're lonely and it's a male loneliness epidemic. So what do you bring to the table? Like, once again, what do you bring to the table? Men have always been able to dictate what women have to bring to the table because they have hoarded money and resources away from us. Now that women are not being hoarded resources from, and they're not hoarding resources away from men, they're actually asking for exactly what you're asking for. They're asking for co-interdependency. They're like, look, now we both make money. Let's both bring that to the table. And let's also acknowledge the fact that if all you want to do is bring money to the table, but you expect women to do everything else, then that's not fair. That's not co-interdependency. That is just a bad deal. That's a raw deal. Somebody whose username I'm not going to say out loud said, most chefs are men. Yeah, exactly. So to all the people asking like how many men can cook, etc., they can cook and they do. And most chefs are men. You know what's the difference? One is getting paid for it, cold hard cash, and the other person's expected to do it for free. So yeah, that's the difference. That most men are chefs. Yeah, Zero Cool says researchers have also found that in early hunter-gatherer societies, women hunted as often as men, exactly. And women brought over 60% of the food in those societies to the table as well. So women have always brought more to the table than men because not only did they bring in that 60% of food, they also had to carry, birth, breastfeed, and take care of the little children. So literally women have always like brought every single thing to the table and men just come and sit there and take. Yeah, Cupcake McGee says the things they feel entitled to versus what you're allowed to ask of them. Exactly. So when you try to ask a man for labor, first of all, you have to ask. First of all, you have to ask. You're not allowed to tell men, well, I think y'all should, but I feel like more women should tell men, like, hey, you're not marriage material. You're not husband material. You don't know how to cook. You don't know how to clean. You don't know how to take care of a child. You don't know how to change a diaper. What am I going to do with you? You're useless, right? But women are not allowed to talk like that. So it's crazy. Yeah, another good point that OS 7877 brought up. Sometimes I look at unnecessarily elaborate churches and think a man thought of this. Fun fact, a lot of churches were just places of hoarding the wealth, right? A lot of churches were just places where men would go outside of the bounds of their country or their land or whatever, and they would pillage on other people's things and then bring it into the church. And because churches were like quote unquote off limits, because they're like religious, spiritual places of religious and spiritual practice, which if you know true spirituality, you don't need, like even Jesus said, the church is not a building, all that. But men take credit for buildings anyway. Like God can, supposedly God can come down to earth and say, the temple is meaningless. Like the temple, I'll smash it down and rebuild it in 3 days or whatever. That's the temple. He was referring to his body. And men will still insist that you need churches, and churches are just tax havens. They're just another way for men to hoard resources. So all of these buildings and societies and churches that they're bragging about building, they don't benefit women. Y'all are not bringing anything to the table by creating safe havens. Hey, pub, by creating safe havens for other monsters like yourself. Like, that's not, I think when you guys talk about man, maybe man in USA, I mean, you think they're better in other countries? You think they're better in like underdeveloped countries? That's crazy. I'm sorry. So interesting. Alex says, so your husband is your servant. So just because I said, listen, like the hypocrisy is so loud, right? It's so loud. So your husband is your servant. What did I say my husband does? Like, he hypes me up emotionally and he contributes around the house. He does his part around the house and now he's my servant. Now he's my servant. He's just husband material. He's just marriage material. Unlike the rest of you losers who think that doing something nice for your partner is servitude. I can't explain this shit to y'all because y'all's brains are broken. Yeah, Leo says that's some rage bait. I bet it's rage bait for you as a man. I bet this is rage bait. I bet this makes you real fucking pissed because nobody asks this question of y'all. Y'all get to come out there and ask this question to women all the time. What do you bring to the table? As if y'all don't know that you can't give birth, that you can't most of you can't cook or clean to save your life. Most of you can't run a household to save your fucking life. Most of you will not, in like 10, 20 years, you will not remember your child's birthday or middle name. And some guy's gonna ask you on the street, like, what's your daughter's favorite subject? And you're gonna say her least favorite subject. Like, what do you bring to the table? That's what I'm asking. Odie says I argued I was benefiting in so many ways, but he was cheating the entire time. Be careful, ladies. Yep, and that happens. Andrea says I'm 26 and low-key scared I'm never going to be married. Thank you, Arena. What I would be scared of is getting married because I'm scared to not be married. And then turns out I married a family annihilator because I wasn't careful and because I wasn't vetting. Like, not to say that it's on women, like, not, but I am also saying there's dangers to settling. Like, there's very legitimate, real dangers to settling for women. You should never be scared that you're not going to be married. Like, first of all, not being married in today's day and age is a flex. Like, it's a wonderful thing. Most women realize by now that marriage is a trap set to capture them and to drain them of their resources and lifeblood. So you shouldn't be scared that you're never going to be married because for most women, marriage just means like being drained of your life force. And unless you can really find a man that like can give life instead of just take it away and like suck all the air out of the room all the time, etc., please don't be scared of not getting married. You're gonna have a way better time by yourself. Ina Hoff says, but don't we benefit from the approval of men? Well, that's exactly why they set the world up the way that they did, right? Is so that they could firstly withhold something from us and then be the ones that, dole it out of the goodness of their heart. So the only reason you benefit from men's like attention or whatever is because they have created this system. Why you continue to antagonism between men and women? We are just human. Because for men, just human means, whoops, I dismembered my wife and put her in a blender. That's like y'all's version of just human. Y'all's version of just human is I was walking by a dumpster at my college campus and I saw a young woman that was passed out. And you know what I did? Instead of calling the fucking police, instead of calling the fucking ambulance or anything, yeah, I took my dick out and took advantage of her. And then my dad argued that I was just having like a 15 seconds of action and that, the jury was going to ruin my life by making sure that I get consequences for my actions. The consequences, by the way, being like 3 months of probation and like losing a fucking scholarship. That's y'all's version of I'm just a boy. I'm just a boy. I see a passed out young woman on the ground and I take my dick out. So no, y'all can go fuck yourself with the whole we're both human, we're just people. No, y'all don't act like people. When women see somebody in distress, they get involved to their own detriment, oftentimes to their own detriment. Men cause detriment by getting involved. Men are the detriment. Like y'all need to see what I'm saying. You need to understand what I'm saying. The patterns speak for themselves. The data speaks for itself. And these statistics do not care about your feelings, right? Oh, we're all just human. No, no. Look at the fruit. Look at the fruit of your tree. Is the tree of men bearing human fruit? Think about it. DJ Mike Queen says, these men these days weren't the people taking from women back in the day. Yeah, the whole why should I feel bad about slavery when it was my ancestors that did it argument doesn't matter. So several things, several things. Maybe you're thinking of like America when you say that. Maybe you're thinking of like the more developed countries when you say that. But just so you know, even in America, our rights were taken while the men stood by and did nothing, arguably being complicit. Our rights were taken away. Our rights are being taken away now as Trump rolls back DEI, most of which applies to women, and the men are nowhere to be found. The men are in glee rejoicing because they know that that gives them a leg up because what? They bring nothing else to the table. So the more they can squeeze, the reason that men are letting this happen is because the more distressed women are, the more they quote unquote need men. And men need to be needed because they bring nothing to the table. Do you understand? This is what I'm trying to say. So first of all, y'all are the exact same people taking from women back in the day. Y'all are the exact same people. You still benefit disproportionately off the things that women do for you. That's for one. For two, in other countries, today, men are literally forcing women to be covered up from head to toe, and they're saying your voice shall not be heard in public. So today, those men exist. So what are we going to do about that? Okay, if you don't want a man, that's fine. What if I told you women do want men? Like, what if I told you that y'all are actually creating the industrial strength incel vibes that you're giving off? Shout out to Sovereign for that one. The incel vibes that you're giving off is from women telling you, here's what we want, and you saying, we don't care what you want. Women do want men. Men are just unwilling to do the things that women require. In normal countries, men bring money. In the West, no idea. So, first of all, that's not normal. Like, that's not normal. It's not normal to deprive women of resources to the point where they have to depend on a man to do it. First of all, not every woman is straight. Not every woman wants to marry a man. Second of all, that's why. Like, that's the artificial value that men create for themselves. Money was invented to give men value that they didn't have. Blueberry says men want women to audition like they are the prize. Exactly. Like in nature, it is on the part of the male to impress the female. And the males that are successful in doing that are the ones that get to mate. So the fact that we're in a male loneliness epidemic right now, that is self-inflicted by men on men. Like, women are generally willing to mate with men, like a lot more women than you probably even think. The problem is men are not bringing anything to the table. The risk assessment has to be fair. You know what I mean? Men face so little risk and so little repercussion from like schmexual relations that it like makes sense that women would want to have certain things in place, right? It just makes sense. It's a risk reward calculation. Do I want to sleep with a man who probably can't even find my fucking clit? Do I want to do that? If I'm the one risking getting pregnant and I'm the one risking like chasing this man all around the world for child support and things like that, and he brings nothing to the table, and he doesn't want to take me out on a date, and he has no money, and he has no career, and he's a loser, but he thinks he's entitled to schmecks. That's not how it works in nature. And again, if we wanted to, we could transcend that. And it's not like all that men are capable of bringing to the table is money, but it's the only thing they want to bring to the table because it's the only thing essential enough to really trap a woman with. That's why there was that man going viral a couple, weeks or so back saying, I want my wife to quit her job because it's detrimental to my income that she has a job. Think about that. When you're independent, men lose. When you have your own money, men lose. And they don't like that. God, y'all, I'm not keeping up with the comments. I'm so sorry. Read the Bible. Bad news for you. I have read the Bible. And the Bible is very clear about this, the fact that men bring nothing to the table. Just so you know, the Bible is very clear about this. Because every time that God tells his people to go and murder a bunch of people in another country, in another place, what are the conditions every single time? There's one thing you have to do every single time, that you go and invade another country. What is that thing? Chat. What is that thing? You gotta murder all the men. Yeah. And take the women. Exactly. So God is very clear about who has the actual value and like what's the actual, takeaway. Why do women get so much hate for sleeping around, but men don't? Especially in this day and age, I find myself asking that question all the time, but there's lots of different reasons. So first of all, men don't think that other men are valuable. That's like the same thing I just said about God, like, and men wrote God, right? Is the same reason. Is because men find other men not valuable and they know that they bring nothing else to the table. So they also know other men are liars. So it's like if you've had a lot of bodies or whatever, if you've slept around a lot, what that means to a man is you can't tell a liar apart from like a truth teller. So that devalues you in their eyes. They think you're naive, or they realize that you probably use those men to your advantage, or maybe you slept with them for money or something like that, and they don't like that because they know, once again, that you know that you're valuable. You know that men would pay to get access to you. That's why. And the reason that men sleep around, thank you, Reina. The reason that men sleep around is because it gains them like social status. So think about that. Once again, there's that the implicit thing in that is that, oh, the more women I sleep with, that gives me status because women are what? Valuable. Exactly. And the more men that a woman sleeps with, she's less valuable. Again, only in the eyes of men, because men know that other men have brought nothing to the table. But they're even more mad when they think that those men did bring something to the table. It's a paradox because that is the only way that flawed, unnatural thinking works. It's a paradox. It's not sustainable. TikTok friend says, in modern society, hi Black Pearl, in modern society, emotional and mental intelligence is the prize. We don't need physical strength. Yeah, this would be the year 7,000. Like if everybody could grasp that, we would be living in the year 7,000, and I promise you women would be running the world, whatever. Because once again, even the reason that we have like different countries and borders and all this kind of stuff is because men need to create artificial danger, artificial value, artificial borders everywhere they go, because that's the only way that they create value for themselves. That's the only way they can say, oh, we brought something to the table. And then when women say, well, that thing is stupid and not useful, so no thank you, they're like, you shouldn't have rights to spling. That's how it works every time. And men love hierarchy for some reason. Ruby, you're absolutely right. But it's not for some reason. It's for a very obvious reason. Again, a hierarchy creates artificial value, and they love artificial value because they have no real value as a whole, as a general, right? Some men have value, but not all men. That's how we're going to use not all men from here on out. Some men are good, but definitely not all men. Thomas says, anything women can do, men can do. Thomas, how many children have you birthed? I love that. How many children have you birthed, Thomas? Anything women can do, men can do? What a fuck-ass statement. First of all, the only way that that statement works is the other way around. The only way that works is the other way around. And women can do more than men can. And there's certain things that men will never, ever, ever be able to do, but women always will. Jamie says, then just ignore the douches and focus on the good ones then. Yeah, well, women have been, Jimmy, and that's why there's a male loneliness epidemic right now. Did you know that? Your brothers are suffering because women have taken y'all's advice and chosen better. Yeah, nature provides everything women need. Absolutely. Leah says, why do you think women won't listen to you? It's a canon event. It's a canon event. Women will realize this someday, for better or for worse. Even most like fundamentally coded Christian women realize over time that their husband is useless without them. They know this. They have just chosen, it's like a sunk cost investment. They have chosen to sink their life into this whole thing, and now they can't admit that they're wrong. But most women will admit this one day or another. Some women will take it to their grave for sure. But Jack Flash says women chase men with money. If they didn't, men having money would have no power. Jack Flash, what does it mean to have money? Oh, actually, sorry. What does it mean to not have money in this society? Think about that. Think about how y'all have taken economic opportunities away from women, and you still do to this day. We have a glass ceiling that has only been, once again, reinforced by this current administration. Nobody has any power in this world without money. That's why people without money end up on the street where they don't want to be. And once again, America reinforces this very much by not having a social safety net. That's why we're so viscerally aware of what not having money means. So, no, the reason that women chase men with money is once again because y'all have hoarded the resources away and made it impossible to exist without money. If women could have access to food, shelter, childcare, all of those things without first needing access to a man, they wouldn't be doing that. Jamie says, okay, then why do the Night Stalker and Ted Bundy have women coming after them even in jail? That is an interesting question. I do think a lot of women are brainwashed by the patriarchy to that point. And women have this very strong, I can fix him, I can save him instinct. Yeah, I think that's just brain rot. I think that's horrible. I mean, listen, I can answer your question with a question. Why do men line up behind 1,000 other men to sleep with Bonnie Blue? Like, I don't know. It's a mental illness. I don't know. Some people are mentally ill. We can't discount that. But again, those women are at least not like going out there and copying or mimicking him like men are. There's so many, serial murder copycats, and none of them are women. They're just men. Marl says most men are used up and ran through nowadays. I would even say it's worse than that. They're not even used up and ran through. They're corn-brained. They don't even know the touch of a woman. They don't even know what it's like to please a woman. Right? It's like if they're used up and ran through, at least, maybe a fellow sister got something out of that. I guarantee you these men don't know what to do with it. They don't know what to do with it. They've watched so much pornography and it has ruined them. They're not even out here sleeping with women. And that's, once again, that's statistical. I'm not quoting these things out of my ass. Like, these are you can look them up. Sandman says, if you have to ask this question, you ain't with the right person, or maybe it's you. I don't disagree with you there, Sandman. I do think that you're not with the right person. And I think most men are not gonna be the right person because they are socialized to take from relationships in particular, right? They're socialized to give at their job, they're socialized to give, you know, in other circumstances, but they are not socialized to give in relationships. And that's why I tell women to stay away from men. Those are, once again, just simply the facts. Veronica, I will upload this on YouTube. That's why I'm here, actually. Yeah, but they think they're the prize. Princess Angie says, I was going to ask, why do men bully random women online? This is what I'm telling y'all. It's to create artificial value for themselves. Men have a union. Y'all don't understand this. Men have a union and they know exactly how they want to be able to act. And even the good men are part of this union because they benefit from the bottom line, right? If the bar is in hell, the easier you can step over it, the better you look, right? For women, the bar is up here and they can never get over it, right? Because even if they come close, once they age out of it, looks wise, it's over, right? And so the reason that men need to bully random women online is to sort of keep up this atmosphere of threat and lack of safety, so that once again they can be like, well, who's going to protect you? Irena, why do you think Trump's wife stays? I mean, why wouldn't she? At this point, they probably don't even talk. She stays for the money. She stays because it's like a business arrangement. I promise you, she hasn't seen that orange little carrot in years. She does not know what it looks like at this point. She's certainly you know what I mean? She's with him probably because if she divorced him, he would try to deport her. A lot of people are like, oh, but Trump's wife is the, yeah, think about that. Think about that. It's not hypocrisy. It's actually him being like, watch yourself. He says, mine brings everything in response to what do men bring to the table. Exactly. And that's why you're with him. Avery says, do men have non-artificial value? I don't know, strength. Men can have all the value that they want. Men can have non-artificial value right now today. If they decided to focus on emotional intelligence, if they decided to focus on, things that women care about. If they decided to stop watching pornography all day, every day, they would have a lot of value. I mean, even the stuff they say about, oh, like we built all the buildings and stuff like that. Okay, like, sure, that's value, but that's value mostly to the market. That's not value to like women per se. Men live in those buildings too. Like, it's so funny. All that to say, like, men can bring a lot of value. They can like read books, they can like be once again conversationally pleasant, they can be emotionally intelligent, but they choose not to. That's it. Leah says, then why do men not just date other men? So that's another great question. I think a lot of them would if they could. And I think that the reason they don't date other men is the same reason that they think that a woman is ran through if she slept with a bunch of men. Because they don't themselves, they don't really consider having schmecks with a man to be something that is like two-sided. You know what I mean? Robin says, nothing, they can barely even put the table together. For real. For real. It's Cohen says, what do men have to offer if not money? More laundry? Exactly. Yeah, that's why like the base starting point for most women these days is that sprinkle sprinkle mentality because it's like it almost doesn't even matter at this point how much money you can bring to the table. The everything else that you realistically quote unquote bring to the table is so much to deal with. Like the emotional ignorance alone, right? Whatever the opposite of emotional intelligence is. The fact that a woman is going to have to explain the concept of feelings and empathy to you. And men are like, well, why should I have to pay for a dinner date? How much would you pay a therapist? Go to therapy. And then you don't, like, then you'll be dating like a different tier of women, right? You'll be in a different you'll actually be desirable and women won't require certain other standards. Like, I don't know. But again, it's like if you're just gonna be a dry conversationalist, even on the dating app, but you're still gonna insist, like, oh, let's go out, and all you wanna go out for is like a cup of coffee, why would a woman get ready and do all that for a damn cup of coffee? I can get a cup of coffee with a friend, and that's way more fun. And she's way more fun to get ready for because she's not going to sit there and be like, oh, I don't like it when girls wear makeup. But also, if I show up without makeup, she wouldn't be like, you should wear makeup. Why aren't you wearing makeup? Did you not even get ready for this date? Like a woman friend is not going to care how you show up. So like maybe if men were more chill, I don't know. Jackie says the problem in China is there are too many males now after a one-child policy. And guess what they've done with that one-child policy now? They've reversed it. You know why? Because too many males is always a crisis. You know why? Because they bring nothing to the table. The whole entire point of this live wrapped up in that one sentence. Yeah, TikTok friend says many men have watched Grape without realizing it because corn is so brutal. Absolutely. Sandro says, can you suggest books for radicalization going further than bell hooks? Yes, if you really want to be radicalized, you should read books about racism and you should understand that like the parallels between that and misogyny are perfect. They're parallel all the way through. So things like They Were Her Property, the book Caste are great. The Creation of Patriarchy by Gerda Lerner is another good one. I have a Goodreads link in my bio. So check that out. Gary Taylor says, what do you bring to the table? Well, Gary, here's the thing. Women have always been valuable, right? Regardless of the specific things that we bring to the table, women in general are valued by our society in monetary terms, right? A surrogate costs money, a nanny costs money. The things that women by default have to bring to the table cost money. A private chef costs money. When men go to the club, they have to pay to get in. When women go to the club, there's all these things like ladies' nights, ladies drink for free, cheap drinks for the ladies. That's because we're valued by men and by society, right? When you and your friends, Gary, I don't know how old you are, probably like 60 now, but I bet when you were going to like parties in college and high school and stuff, your first question, I mean, who are we kidding, Gary? Were you even invited? Probably not. But had you been invited to any of these parties, probably you and your homeboys' first question would be, but which one are the girls at? Where's there the most girls? That's the party you want to go to. So that's what women bring to the table. Generally, our presence is enough. Men pay just to hang out with escorts, even. Like men pay just to have a woman listen to them talk. There's like phone escorts that just make money to sit there and, uh-huh, uh-huh. So you tell me, what do women bring to the table? Something that y'all really like, apparently. Yeah, and exactly. Y'all are jealous of that. Y'all hate that. Y'all hate that just our presence is enough to make other men turn out their pockets. Uncle Bubby says, who's gonna protect you? I don't want a bear in my house to protect me from the bears outside. And honestly, there's plenty of Slavic women who actually have lived with a bear in the house, and it was fine. William says, what if the wife brings the money to the table? Well, William, what are you bringing in return then? That's what I'm asking. Can you find her clitoris? Like, do you know what her favorite foods are? Do you know how to cook? Do you know how to clean? Like, what would you do? And how much money would she have to bring to the table for you to like legitimately stay home and like keep house? Because for most men, the answer would be like 250K and up and up. So Waleed says, how about women start picking better men? We have. That's why y'all have a loneliness epidemic. That's why your fearless leader, Scott Galloway, is out there threatening women that they better start lowering their expectations because the men are out here turning into monsters and incels. But why would we want you then? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, the thing that y'all bring to the table is maybe if y'all get with us and maybe if y'all like settle and basically have mercy on us, then maybe we're not going to go out there and harm little school children with pew-pews. Like, that's the offer. That's the fucking exchange. Why would women want that? That means you're just going to be the outlet of his anger and his emotional unregulation. Like, why the fuck would you want that? I don't care about the greater good of a society that doesn't care about me. Like, that's what women are thinking. Women are thinking, well, if I have to take the L, like, why would I do that if I don't have to? It's a very simple question. Why would I do that if I don't have to? Duran Ali says, who raises men? Like, never ceases to amaze me how the only arguments that men are able to bring to the table somehow make men look worse every single time. Who's going to protect you? From whom? We built the world because you didn't let women build it with you. Who raises men? And the implication here is, oh, it's women that raise men. Think about that. Think about that question you just asked. So y'all want to be able to run off, leave all the responsibility on the women, and then be able to come back and blame us. Again, why the fuck would we deal with y'all in any fucking regard? Why? Rob Blue says, I think both men and women need to stop with this shallow transactional nonsense. I think women have tried multiple times. I think the early 2000s and the early 2010s are very much proof of, I mean, there was literally a song by Timbaland and Nelly Furtado that was like, I ain't got no money. I ain't got no car to take you on a date. I can't even buy you flowers, but together we'll be the perfect soulmates. Like, and there was a woman on that song singing along with it, and it was a huge hit. So, but the reason women are being transactional now is because men didn't hold up that end of the bargain. Like, the woman in question, the woman in that song was literally Nelly Furtado, like a certified baddie. And she's like, "Oh, it's all right. You ain't got a front for me. My love is free," all that stuff. Like, if men were truly non-transactional, then there wouldn't be all of these beauty standards for women. There wouldn't be all of these assumed tasks of women. Men are extremely transactional. They'll be like, my wife took everything from me. When it's like, what did you want to do? You wanted to leave her broke and penniless after she quit her career to raise your children or never started one in the first place? You wanted to leave her broke and penniless. What do you mean you're not transactional? Like, what the fuck? Not only are you super transactional, but you also completely undervalue our contributions. That's why it's not like a both sides nonsense. It's literally like all men have ever brought to the table has been protection from other men and money. Both of those things are artificial. Artificial and self-inflicted. And then men complain that women are gold diggers. Well, where are we supposed to dig for gold if y'all don't let us into the gold mine? Women are not allowed in the gold mine, but they're also not allowed to want gold. Like, the fuck? He says 50% of the relationship, where? What 50%? Please break it down for me. Yee, go ahead. Please break it down for me. What 50% of the relationship do men bring? Go ahead. Please. Please, like, I can't fucking wait to hear it. Because most women quit relationships after realizing they have put in 99% of the work for nothing, for absolutely nothing. Women will put in 100% to a relationship for 20 years and then they'll get diagnosed with cancer or something like that and their man will leave. So what 50% are y'all bringing to the fucking relationship? What 50%? I'm so serious. Do most men know where to find most women's clitoris? Yes or no? Do most men like give women O's on a regular basis? Ye single, bitter, and jaded, you fucking wish, brother. You wish. Been married for 13 years to the love of my life, who very much knows how to do all of these things. Martha, would your man be interested enough to engage for your entire life? Martha, my man pulls up to our house and I hear my voice blasting out of the speakers. My man, when I don't post for like more than a day or two on YouTube, because he's not on TikTok, bless his heart. When I don't post for a day or two to YouTube, he's like, what the fuck? Where's the content? My man listened to every podcast episode of ours twice. My man has an account that nobody knows about where he goes and leaves comments on all of my YouTube videos and our Spotify podcast comments, like he's always in those. He responds to trolls on our behalf and everything like that. So yes, and he watches all of these once I put them up on YouTube. He's just at work right now, where all the other men should be who are arguing with me in these stupid ass comments. All the men saying yes, they give O's. Well, boys, facts don't care about your feelings. Go check the stats on that. Women are not saying that. And also, women have been trained to fake it like you gave them an O because y'all's egos are not strong enough to handle like the reality, which is that most of you don't know what you're fucking doing. Or was it Carrie Hilson? My bad. Either way, I know she was gorgeous. So, men provide and women care. Both are equal but different purpose. That really pisses me off. First of all, women provide so much. What, like, to say that men provide is honestly offensive to me. I say this all the time, but when it comes to money, money is not provision. It is a middleman to actual provision. So if y'all were actually providing, it would look very different. But okay, providing money means you just bring it. You bring it. You're a retriever. You're a dog. Okay? When you're talking about we provide, you bring money. Okay? Now, women then do stuff with that money and provide value, right? The monetary value of money is very vague and like flexible and depending on who you give it to, right? So when a single man has money, he's not meal planning. He's not cooking. He's not doing any of this stuff, right? So his money is actually working against him because he's spending it on Taco Bell and McDonald's and having diarrhea every night. You know what I mean? He's spending his money on dumb shit. When you give a woman money and you say, hey, feed an entire household on like a 50K salary, you know what she's going to do is clip a bunch of coupons. She's going to figure out how to plan meals. Mind you, women were doing this before the internet even existed, and men are still not doing it despite the fact that the internet exists. So, like, right then and there, you can talk about just basic regular value. Like, women still have more value because they're able, like, let me not go off on a whole tangent, but I'm just saying, like, there's so much to unpack just in that, you know? So women are the ones really providing anything. What you're doing is you're going to work for 8 hours, and arguably, you'd have to do that regardless. You don't get to just exist for free. That's not a thing. So you'd be going to work regardless. You'd be paying your bills regardless. You'd be paying your rent regardless. The only difference is the money that you would have as a single man would be being spent on things that are a detriment to you, like OnlyFans, like Taco Bell, like other unhealthy tasks. And when you're with a woman, your 50, 60K salary goes much further because not only does she create, quote unquote, your legacy, which, well, let's not even go off on that tangent, but she's going to create children for you. She's going to use her body to literally produce children. That's provision, okay? Producing children, providing life, that's provision, okay? but she's also going to figure out how to make your little ass 50K salary feed those children. That's provision. Okay? The only thing you're doing is you're just bringing money to a different place and it's being spent better. Park Lady says, my husband always said he would take care of me, then he decided different and left me homeless. Tale as old as time. You know what I mean? That's why I always say, unless you have a way to get out, you as a woman, it's very hard for me to make the case that you should be married, that you should be looking for marriage. And it sucks because some men will even take women, like the whole story of Gone Girl, right, is basically a woman radicalized by that fact that she had all the money to like leave her marriage and stuff like that, but she eventually trusted her man a little bit too much and ended up using that money to let him start a business, etc. And all he did was like screw her over and start an affair. So that's what men bring to the table a lot of the time. They're very transactional and very calculated. Yeah, Spring Meow says, and the money men bring to the table is less than the value of the labor women provide. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, a surrogate costs like 2K, ballpark. Okay. How many men do you know that have put like 600 in their wife's account after they had their 3 kids or whatever? How many men do you know that pay their wife a private chef salary for being their private chef? Especially including the fact that most women are like, I wouldn't be eating this if he wasn't here. Like, my husband not being home for dinner means I get to make a easy dinner, fun and easy for me and the kids. My husband being home means it's got to be a 3-course meal with like a side and a protein and whatever. Or he's like picky and just eats nothing but garbage. And men never want to pay up for that stuff, knowing damn well that they wouldn't do the same for their wife, knowing damn well they want to do the same for their kids. Paul says men bring high standards. Exactly. And that's my whole thing. So women should bring that in return. That's all. Jasmine says dads teach us to be transactional too. My dad hates when I bring a man who doesn't have a good job. Yes, because men know the game. They know the truth. You know what I mean? And like your fathers only oftentimes, unfortunately, only realized that women have value when they had a daughter. And now they want to put her on game and they're like, don't date these fucking broke ass losers. It's men that teach us this, right? Men say pick better. Okay, well, if all that men want to bring to the table, listen, if men say pick better, but they don't want to bring any skills to the table, right? They don't have schmexual skills, they don't have cooking, cleaning, all those skills. And they're like, yeah, but I make money. Then picking better means you're picking the richest man. Like, that's it. And then the broke men are going to sit there and cry and complain. No, it's a loneliness epidemic. No, y'all told us the game. Y'all put us on game. Blissful says, and stress causes cancer. Exactly. That's what most men bring to the table. They'll stress you out to the point where you get cancer and then they'll abandon you. Eric says, everything women have around them was produced or constructed by men. False. The Wi-Fi that I'm communicating to you on was invented by a woman. Plenty of things were invented by women. And we've done this before and like we've dropped it in the chat and there was like millions of things invented by women. But it's also that men have taken credit for lots of women's inventions. Also the fact that men have not allowed us to build or invent things with them. The reason we went to space was because of women. Like, come on now. Yeah, women are saying that men have skid marks and don't wipe. And that's actually a tale as old as time. That's actually not even a new phenomenon. And men are like, well, what do y'all bring to the table? And I can tell you that it's not skid marks. But that's what too many of y'all are bringing to the damn table. Tolly Tot says, the amount of times I faked an O is crazy. Exactly. That's because men's egos cannot handle when women don't fake it. Ruby says, I faked it 90% of the time, and when I didn't, the guy almost cried. So I went back to faking. Yep. Most men are boring AF and they know it. Exactly. So I had been doing these lives for a while and I did this one live that was like men are cornified and men need to stop watching corn. And literally the men in the chat were asking, what am I going to do instead then? What am I supposed to do if not watch corn? That radicalized me forever. I'll never not think about that. Not a day goes by that I don't think about that. And it explains the male condition so well. If not misogyny, then what? Like, if I can't be misogynistic, then what can I even be? What's my purpose in life? Like, that's the question most men are asking. That's horrifying. Why would women even want to sit at a table with you? That's what I'm saying. Like, even like this Scott Galloway dating apps conversation is kind of pointless and stupid to me because women are not on the dating apps. The reason men are having to swipe so much is because they're swiping on bots. This is the way that every single dating website goes. The way of every website, dating or hookup or whatever, is it turns into bots because men cannot act humane towards the women that are on there. They drive the women off the dating apps and then they complain that there's no women on the dating apps. It's like, I can't explain how to be a human being to y'all or how to interpret simple supply and demand. You see it when it comes to the market, but you don't see it when it comes to y'all. I don't know. Mash Kiki Water says provide a headache and an extra person to take care of, maybe. Yeah, that's always been the deal, right? It's always been the deal. I give you money and you take care of everything else. You do everything else. And that is not a fair deal because any man with money can say that to any woman, but then like the monetary amount doesn't matter, right? Like, and what's funny is that it works almost inversely, right? It's like the more money that a man provides, he's actually probably going to have a kept woman, right? He's going to want a woman that does nothing. It's the men that provide the least that require the most work out of you. Remember that. Remember that, ladies. The proportions are inverse. So a man that has a lot of money, he will likely just get, outsource some things so that you can lead the same type of life that he leads. That's a man that loves you, right? A man that doesn't love you is going to continue bringing home 50, 60K and expecting you to bust your ass, clipping coupons, meal planning, scrimping, scrounging, saving. You have nothing. You have nothing to leave him. You have nothing because y'all are barely making it on his one salary. And that's where they like to have you, ladies. Right there. Devin says, I disagree. I know plenty of guys that are married but meal prep. Well, that's why they're married, Devin. That's what I'm trying to explain to y'all. When a man brings something to the table, he's marriage material. It's that simple. If you know how to cook and clean and you actually do it, you're marriage material. Congratulations. Like, women are just applying the same things to y'all that y'all have applied to us. Now that we can bring money to the table, why would we deal with men who are used to just sitting down and taking and eating all the food? They want the first plate, they want the comforts of marriage and everything. Well, so do women. Net nobody says anyone with 50K can easily make it work. So first of all, you clearly don't live in my area. We could never make it work on 50K. That's fucking crazy. Some areas have a much lower cost of living. You cannot live here on 50K. There's actually I don't think there's any place in Washington state at this point where you can live on 50K. Like, even the smaller towns and stuff, like, shit costs a lot of money. So no, anyone with 50K cannot easily make it work. Also, again, at what cost? That has to be a woman's full-time job to make a family work on 50K. That's why y'all like for women to stay home and bring your little 50K to the table. That's not a prize. 50K is not a prize. Do men ever think why dads are so protective and sus of everyone their daughter dates? Yeah, it's men. It's like we are taught as women, y'all don't realize. But while men get to exist like happy and carefree and like do whatever they want, women are being told behind the scenes by like our moms, our grandmas, our sisters, our aunts, and our dads that men only want one thing and that you need to make sure that it's like worth it, etc. So yeah, people are telling on you. Y'all are out here living like nobody knows your secret, but everybody knows your secret, especially women. We're just not allowed to talk about it out loud. But I do, and that's why y'all don't like me. Yeah. Oh, Atomic Annie, men get upset at women saying all men until a man tries to date their daughter. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yes. Jamie says, I agree with you in regards to relationship dynamics for sure, but not sure it applies to the rest. You mean like society-wide in general? I mean, what do men bring to the table of society? Violence. Like, violence. Men are the reason we have wars. Men fight in the wars. Men start the wars. Men escalate the wars. That's what men bring to the table on a large scale. Over 90% of all violent crime is committed by men. That's what men bring to the table. So many women have been unalived by men. Lou says most of the men in the comments only build TikTok comments and never anything else. Exactly. Yeah, men do need to get hobbies for real. That's why they have a loneliness epidemic and women don't. Women simply have hobbies. They're not so embarrassing that they're like, oh my gosh, like no man wants me, so I'm just gonna be an incel, a femcel, go on the internet and like do crazy shit or go buy a GUN and pew pew up a school. Like on a large scale, it's men doing those things. Women just get a fucking hobby and deal with it. MCT says, are you a therapist? Just curious. You seem to speak from a high level awareness of all men. I'm just neurodivergent and I grew up with a good man. And so the juxtaposition has been pretty wild, given that like my dad did nothing special. Like, you know what I mean? I always thought like the stuff that he did was like just normal. And then I tried to date men and I was like, oh, this is very different. This is very different than what I'm used to, you know? So no, I'm not a therapist. I watch a lot of reality TV. Honestly, I read a lot of books. I've been just observing this stuff for a while and just finally started putting it all together publicly. Connie says, my boyfriend has no ambition. He finally told me yesterday he wasn't like this in the past. Well, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. This is what men bring to the table. They just make their problems your problems. Renbird says just binged all your White Lotus videos. Amazing. I went on F the Nice Guy podcast a couple days ago, so keep an eye out for that because we talked all about the White Lotus. So keep an eye out for that F the Nice Guy podcast. And then we had her on the podcast on Monday, and that's coming out next Monday. So Alex says only depends if you value what's on the table, and that is exactly correct, Alex. Most men do not value women. And so that's why they feel like they don't need to bring anything to the table because they're like, it's me. I'm the prize. That's what I bring to the table. And Alex is one of those men that doesn't value women. Alex, if I had to guess, he'd probably value another man a lot more if he was sitting at that table. And I just think you should go find a table with a man. Like, there's plenty of men sitting at open tables, you know what I mean? There's apps for that. Like the men that really genuinely do like women, they'll bring whatever to the table that needs to be brought. Like when I met my husband, I never had to wonder, oh, are we gonna hang out soon? Does he like me? You know, why does he never hold my hand in public? I never had these kind of questions. Do you know why? Because he was like, pulled out all the stops. You know what I mean? Like, there was no questions. I never had to write him a paragraph. Where are you? I haven't heard from you for days. I just need some basic communication. He still texts me every single day from work. Like, I miss you. I love you. I hope you're having a good day. And that is what it is. And so you're right, Alex. MCT Twist says, just stop the gender wars already. We have enough problems already. Who causes those problems, MCT? Who causes those problems? No, go ahead. Go ahead. And also, our problems are very different, men versus women, right? My problem is I can't go outside, even in broad daylight, most days, safely without being harassed. Those are my problems. What are your problems? What problems do you have? Sen says, why tarnish all men with the same brush? So scientifically, there's such a thing as data, right? And once you have enough data that all points in one direction, it makes it a little bit easier. Do you know what I mean? It makes it a little bit easier to be like, yeah, not all men commit crime, but most crime is committed by men, right? Not all men grape and assault women, but most of those cases are caused by men. Not all men, homicide their wife and family or pew pew up a bunch of schools, but all of those cases are men. So we have different problems. Men know deep down that women are superior. They fear us to the core. I mean, we've talked about this a lot, but yeah, imagine having to put so many obstacles in front of someone just to keep them like at even, like just to keep them from like outrunning you every time. You know what I mean? Like, imagine you have to have the bumpers up to get the same bowling score. Imagine You have to imagine you get an elevator while somebody has to climb every single stair step, like, and they still get to the top in like less time than you. Imagine how embarrassed you would be. Imagine if men actually were like superior to us. Imagine how actually, like, how men wouldn't need to, like, if men were really superior, they wouldn't need to establish their quote unquote dominance by committing violence against us. You know, they could just be superior. And that's why women don't do that to men, right? That's the difference. That's why women don't do that to men, because we already know we're superior. So the men's punishment is having to live with themselves. The men's natural punishment is the loneliness epidemic. That's what y'all get in return because you're not superior. Because the only way you could ever be superior is to put us down first. What? Men built America, not women. When did women get their rights? When did women get the rights to work? Friend. This is why y'all's fearless leader, the little orange guy, this is why he doesn't want to teach y'all history. Is so y'all can continue to stay stupid and ignorant of your own downfalls, and so that you can stay in your sheep mode. This is sheep mode, okay? Men built America. Women couldn't have a fucking credit card until 50 years ago. Women couldn't start a business until 40 years ago. You want to fucking talk about what y'all built? What else did y'all build? Do you know what else you had to build? You had to build prisons to hold men. That's what all y'all had to build. And you know why men go to prisons? Because they abuse and assault women and children. That's what y'all had to build. Quentin says, should men listen to women about what it means to be a good man? Is the reverse true? Well, Quentin, you tell me, because y'all are not listening, and what do y'all have to show for it? A loneliness epidemic. What do women have to show for it? Money, houses, cars, independence, happiness, freedom. Y'all don't have any of those things. Y'all are, in fact, decreasing your share in the ownership. Y'all are decreasing your monetary share and how much money you have. Like, women literally, like, what do you mean? You should be taking advice from us. We are demonstrably doing better in life, even though our rights have been taken away very recently. And even though this current government is doing everything to like bring us down and like unemploy us and all that stuff. And women would still rather not mess with y'all. So I don't know. Listen to us or don't. It doesn't matter. Clearly doesn't fucking matter to the women. Is the reverse true? Clearly it's not true, because women have been listening to men about what it means to be a good woman, and look where that's got us. You know, when men say that a woman is good, is when she stays after being cheated on. That's a good woman. A good woman is somebody who doesn't call the police when DV happens to her. A good woman is somebody who's gonna show up to court and defend her man in a rape and assault case. That's what y'all think a good woman is. A good woman is somebody who can carry an entire household on her back and never even request a thank you. That's a good woman to y'all. Meanwhile, y'all would never do any of those things so thanklessly. So I don't know. You tell me. You tell me if women should listen to y'all or if y'all should listen to women. Because one of us is doing a lot better than the other. Even despite the fact that y'all built society and it's built for you, why are we succeeding in it? It's interesting. America was built by slaves and immigrants, actually. And that's the truth right there. That's the truth right there. Men did not build America. White men, specifically the men that y'all are referring to, were standing there cracking whips. Once again, you know, the men are going to come in here and say 100 times, James, you have to be kidding. We built society and everything like that. Where were the women at that time, according to the laws that men made? What laws did men make that allowed them to be the only ones to build society? And fuck right off with that. Once you answer that question. Once you answer that question, you can shut the fuck up. Chris says, why does everyone want to be better than someone else? Just treat people with respect. We're all equal. That's all I'm asking of the men. Most men do not respect women. What is your opinion on the higher rate of self-offings that men generally have? The patriarchy doesn't give them a lot of good places to find their value in, because the patriarchy requires for them to be less human. less human than they actually are in order to benefit from it. I've done a live about this. It's up on my YouTube. It's called like Men and Humanity or Men and Lack of Humanity. But go watch that because I think it all stems from that. Super Fun says, why be a divider? I'm not dividing anybody. I'm trying to keep women safe. But that's what I mean is like y'all view the absence of women as a divide. And I think that's interesting. Do you see that? Because y'all can't benefit freely from our labor. And so y'all view that as a loss and as a divide, whereas women view being able to stay the fuck away from men as independence and as like a benefit. So think about that. Think about what that says about what you bring to the table. Nothing. It's nothing. That's why I'm not dividing anyone. I'm just telling women, like, hey, if there's nothing for you at the table, you know you don't have to sit there, right? And then y'all are like, you're dividing us. Literally, as I'm doing this live, my husband just texted me being like, hey, I just want you to know I'm thinking about you and everything you're doing is amazing. And well, he's actually so much more well spoken than me and like when it comes to text messages, but he's like, just remember to like shine your light, but also take care of yourself and da 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 da. I'm not making this shit up. Like, I'm literally like, I just received this text message. It's not just men, there are very evil on both sides. Okay, let's make a list of all the women serial annihilators and all the men. And we can talk about the sides, both sides. Go ahead. Go ahead. If there are evil people on both sides, make me a list. On one side, list all the male rapists, assaulters, serial murderers, felons, criminals, and on the other side, list all the women. And we'll compare both of the sides, and you will be forced to come to the same conclusion as me. That's the real rage bait. Like that's the real rage bait is men coming in here being like, "There's bad people on both sides." What? A moo cow, which I'm assuming is a man. Says myself, I bring listening companionship to the table. Listening and companionship is like the least of what you could bring to the table. What y'all expect women to bring to the table is cold, hard labor. And y'all be like, oh, I listen and I'm compassionate. Okay. That's like every woman I've ever met. Women do that not just for men. Women do that for women, children, animals. Like, the fuck? It's the fact that listening and compassion is like the top of the fucking is like supposed to impress me. Those are basic human skills. Chase says, personally, I bring humor to the table. Okay. Can I eat humor? Does humor pay the rent? Does it what like seriously, what is that? And what do you expect a woman to bring to the table? Does she just bring humor to the table and that's enough for you? You just want a funny girl? Or do you want to be the guy that just gets to be funny while his wife is like losing her goddamn mind in the kitchen with the kids and everything like that, and you get to play pranks on her, and that's your version of I bring humor to the table? Because oftentimes that's what it is. And it's humor in the form of like constant nagging of your wife. We see these couples on TikTok all the time. He brings the humor to the table and she brings everything else, and she's fucking miserable. And she's not safe in her own house because he won't stop playing pranks on her. It's really awesome. Thanks for that. Yeah, the loneliness epidemic is definitely like Rachel says, is a cry for attention, is like a toddler crying for attention. Yeah, they don't actually want to do anything to not be lonely. They just want us to like comply. Once again, show us the text. What else do you want me to show you? I would feel so dirty like airing out our texts online. Like, I don't actually need y'all to know what the text exactly said. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't I don't like that. Something to me feels spiritually off about that. Maybe I'll do it one day, but like I've thought about it because I literally I do have these texts, but it just feels cheap to me. It feels like it's gonna actually cheapen the whole thing to like post them. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I mean, look, as much as I'd want to, like I love y'all and I genuinely do sometimes feel like I want to share those aspects of my life with y'all. And at the same time, it just like until you're really in this position, like until people are literally like online being like, no, show us the text. It's like, I don't, it just doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel right. I don't know. I don't like it. And Sovereign always yells at me whenever I do that. She's like, put your husband away. MC Harrington says, how did you know he was safe? I just thought a man was then found out he called a woman a bitch today. Well, yeah, that's rough. I think a big part of it is like it's very intuition based, but also very experience based for me. So my vetting process was like, does this man make me feel as safe as I would feel around my dad? And if the answer was yes, then that's how I know. Because I was around my dad for many years and he was very consistent. And like, there was just certain things that he did that I was like, I know I'm safe. Like, I know I don't have to actually worry. I can always call my dad, whatever. And it's just a vibe. And it really is why it's so important for like women to either heal their father wound, or like women with good fathers just are more successful in the dating sphere oftentimes, statistically, just because it's more of a vibe. Yeah, and like your nervous system will know too. But again, if your nervous system knows nothing but like men being parasites and a-holes, and it's very difficult for you to actually desire a safe man. I've always and only desired a safe man. Nothing about the emotional roller coaster of like a manipulative love bomber ever spoke to me. Do you know what I mean? The men that would be in my DMs or my text messages like, oh, I want to marry you, like, I love you, and like all this stuff, that would just turn me off because it felt like I was getting on a roller coaster, right? I'm just very aware of like being love bombed. I'm very aware of being like manipulated, I guess. And a lot of men come at things with like manipulative intentions, and a lot of women don't know that that's happening. But especially if a man is like bragging about like how respectful he is to women, anytime I'm a feminist, oh, I love, women. Wrong. If he's coming out the gate, he's trying to get ahead of something. If he's coming out the gate with that. And those will be the men that will call a woman a bitch as soon as she goes against them. Oh, but I always support women. This woman was just different, and fuck her and like that. Jasmine, yeah, it's a turn off when men say intimate things too soon. Just know that that's like transaction bombing. It's not even love bombing. The only safe man is an unalive one. Yeah, sure. Who was talking about this the other day? I want to say it was Sovereign because I watch her content so much. I love her. But she was like, a man is into you as long as he's into you. Like, a man will love you and like treat you well as long as he wants to, as long as he is like happy doing it. A man is a man is a man. And like, I'm Slavic, so none of this is news to me. I'm not like, this doesn't like break my heart. This doesn't like, it's like, okay, good. We grow old together. We unalive together. Wonderful. You know what I mean? We don't. I don't want to be anywhere where I'm not wanted. You know what I mean? There's no way that I would like stay and beg my husband to stay, like if he wanted to leave or if he didn't want to be there. It's like, great. The only thing, the reason that women get so heartbroken about men is because you genuinely are putting all of your eggs in that one basket. Like, you can't do that. You know what I mean? The reason that women get so heartbroken when men leave them is because there's always this scene of like, oh, but I did all this for you. But I did, I built, I built our lives. I gave you children. I was faithful to you. I supported your business. I quit my career. I did this and this. I'd be mad too. You know what I mean? But if something like that happened between me and my husband, I'd be able to look back at our relationship and be like, okay, every day I woke up and I did exactly what I would want to do every day. And every day he supported that. What have I lost? If we're going to be married for 40 more years, it's only going to be because he's been treating me right for all those 40 years. No loss in having a good man. Exactly. A lot of the time that women get too attached to the idea of having a man and being like, and they project that onto me a lot. Oh, but your husband, what if? Tell me what if. What have I given him that I can't take back other than my presence? You know what I mean? Devin, what does a woman bring to the table? Devin, were you not in here earlier asking me the same fucking question? Devin, men themselves have told us what women bring to the table. Like, your fellow men are the ones that will be like, where are the women at when you go to the club? Where are the women at? Is it ladies' night? Okay, Devin, I'm not beating around it anymore. Men will spend money to hang out with a 304 and just like emotionally confide in her. Women bring childbirth to the table. What men are still going to the club? I mean, why are you asking me? I'm 33 years old. I don't go to the club, but when I did, I never had to pay. When I was married and I'd go to the club, men would buy me drinks even though I had a ring on my finger. And I would like come out the gate with, I'm married. I don't, I'm not gonna F you. I'm not gonna date you. I'm not gonna do nothing else. That's the value. I mean, like literally, men just wanted to be in my presence. You can't say that though. You're talking about a select few of men. Men ask women to marry them. That's the value. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, men are the ones that get down on one knee, they purchase a ring, they do all this stuff. You explain that to me. What do women bring to the table for men to go out there, buy a diamond, set up a proposal, propose to a woman? What do women bring to the table? Can you have a child without a woman? You can't. Can a woman have a child without a man? She can't. That's what they bring to the table. Most men do not know how to cook or clean, so that's what women bring to the table. Most men do not have good money management skills. That's what women bring to the table. Most men will live less unless they marry a woman. Let me tell you what else women bring to the table. Married men make 11% more than single men. Divorced men make 9% more. Bob says I can hire a surrogate. And what is that surrogate? A woman. And you would have to hire her, which means that she has value that you don't have. Otherwise, you could save the $300,000 and do it yourself, Bob. That's what I'm fucking talking about. Like, I can't. It's wild. Like, that's what I mean. It's wild. Like, it's actually wild, like, how this shit goes over their head. Walked right into the point, exactly, and it's just too close. Just way too close to the point to really actually see it. I can hire a surrogate. I can hire a cleaner. I can hire a maid. Do it. Do it then. Do it then. How many of your fellow men could do the same thing? How many of your fellow men could hire a surrogate? That's why women are valuable. That's why. Because without us, you would have to pay $300,000 to a surrogate. Without y'all, we can go to a sperm bank and pay what? I mean, it's got to be a fraction of a penny per sperm. A fraction of the cost. Also, like if we didn't want to go to a sperm bank, most of y'all men are willing and able to give us a one night stand, and that's it, and we can have kids. I Am Supreme says, soon we will have cheap machines that will grow our offsprings. Wonderful. And I guess you guys can quit your jobs to take care of those offspring. And I guess y'all can, pay for the daycare or whatever. Either way, you lose. You lose. You're not used to doing any of the stuff that women do. And women are used to doing all the work and going to work. So, like, where's the flex? Once again, for y'all to decenter women, you would need a lot of money. You would need more money than a ring costs. You would need more money than a house costs. You would need way more money than the monetary value you quote unquote provide to a woman to do all that stuff for you. So, how many years would it take, Bob, for example, for you to save up for a surrogate? How much money do you make? And then how much money would it take for you to outsource the care of that child? Because mind you, you'll probably need to hire a night nurse because men don't get paternity leave. And even if they were to get leave, it would still be unpaid because y'all didn't fight for women's rights in that regard. So our only value is financial. No, your only value is financial. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. Your only value is financial. Do you understand that? You would have to pay a woman to have your child. You would have to pay a woman to do labor for you, or a man. But it's your value that's actually monetary. Jamie Fish is here. Oh my gosh. Jamie, I don't know why it's filtering your comments. That's very annoying. But yeah, surrogates are very expensive. If y'all don't follow Hey Jamie Fish yet, please do. Her and her husband are doing the really arduous work of like deconstructing religion and patriarchy basically in real time. There she is. Hey Jamie Fish. Go follow her. I'm so serious. Some of the best content I've ever seen on this app, and some of the most thoughtful and like just well laid out. Her and her husband are both incredibly like emotionally intelligent. And I would say, well, and it's like her husband will probably also attest to the fact that like that she had a huge part in that. So, and yeah, it's always the broke men that are like, "Oh, I can outsource your labor." Okay, do it. Do it. What's up with y'all's loneliness epidemic then? What's up with that? The Christian Maverick says emotional security, physical security. What emotional security are you talking about? And what physical security from whom? What do women need to be physically protected from? You know, y'all are going to keep coming in here and saying the same exact thing, and I'm just going to keep saying the same exact thing back to you. Physical security from whom and what emotional security? Most married women will say that they're lonely in their marriage. Lonely. That's not emotional security. Most men are not emotionally intelligent enough to provide emotional security. Jamie says, is family not important though? Does it matter who could have children without who seems silly? That's my question for men once again. Is family not important? Because why is there so many single mothers? The reason that women are not jumping out of their, seat to have a family with y'all is because y'all don't value family. It's because they know they're going to end up either a single mother or a married single mother. That's who doesn't value family. Women value family. That's why they continue being mothers even after they're abandoned by their partners. Women value family very much. So Robert says, because women leave men, look up divorce statistics. I would flip that around on you and say that men rarely leave relationships unless they have something else lined up. So the fact that most men literally cannot survive without women, so that's why most men don't file for divorce unless they have like another situation lined up. Robert, I'm not wrong. You can look up the damn statistics yourself. And most women will say that they've never had a man leave them, even though that man is committed to their misery, committed to all the things that are not conducive to a relationship. So men will stay because they don't care how miserable women are, because they still benefit from a woman's presence. That's what I'm trying to explain to y'all. Men don't leave because why would they leave a situation where somebody's cooking for them, cleaning up after them, and raising their children? When men leave, and oftentimes men don't want a divorce because that would mean that they actually have to take care of their children half the time. Divorce is like one of the only ways to ensure that a man is contributing his part to the raising of your children. That's why so many women will get a divorce, because they just get tired of doing it all on their own and they know that this is the only way. Marv says, I love femcel talk. It's entertaining. I bet you will hate to find out, Marv, that I've been happily married for 13 years and that my husband's probably going to watch this live on YouTube once I edit it and like put it up there. You're probably going to be real upset. If you're looking for femcel talk, you're in the wrong place, friend. Jamie says, when I was younger, I wanted a divorce for that exact reason. Husband finally doing his fair share. Yep. And that's something that they talk about on their channel a lot. And women, y'all should listen, because women get to that point where it's like, this man screws me over every day because he doesn't do his part. And the only way I can screw him over back is to literally like step out of this marriage. Of course, men stay in marriages longer. Like, I don't understand. Like, it makes perfect sense for a man to stay in a marriage, and it makes no sense for a woman to stay in that same marriage. Batman says, no offense, but there's a lot of generalization going on. There's generalization in the statistics. We can generalize y'all by the statistics. Y'all commit most of the violent crime. Y'all commit most of the assault, most of the rape, by far, over 90%. So I can generalize y'all. Easy. Once you give me those same kind of statistics about women, we can stop generalizing. And the divorce makes a worse life for the kids, so the woman only thinks about herself. That's a fucking crazy statement. Why would the divorce make life worse for the kids? Think about that. Why does the divorce make life worse for the kids? Is it because one of the parents is going to end up being flaky and like not doing any actual parenting and is not going to have like a proper place for the kids to stay? And there's going to be a stark difference in between like when going to your dad's house and going back to your mom's house. Like, I've grown up with children that had divorced parents, and there was always, that discrepancy of like, yeah, it's the dad that makes the life worse. The mom side of the equation stays the same. It's the dad's side that makes the children's life worse, is the fact that the dad, moves into some apartment, doesn't decorate it, there's no furniture, no nothing. If the kid is hungry, they're gonna eat pizza or McDonald's. Like, who is making the kid's life worse? I'm sorry. Like, are we all okay? Kara says, my daughter's so glad I left. Yeah, I did it for her more than me. Yeah, absolutely. And also, like, why do y'all want to keep women trapped in bad marriages so bad? I believe in divorce, like, 10,000%. I don't believe anyone should ever stay in a marriage where they don't want to be at. Like, it's that simple. What the problem with a lot of men is that y'all will lie to women and cheat on them. And that's how the divorce comes about. The fact that men don't want a divorce is part of the problem. That's why y'all are trying to take divorce off the table in general. Because if women can divorce y'all, then your little jig is up. That's what it is. Because y'all want to hold that power and be like, oh, yeah, I'll divorce you once I shack up with Nancy down the street or once I shack up with my secretary. That's when I'll divorce you because she needs to take over all the work that you do. Whereas women are like, I'm going to divorce you because I'm at the edge of my fucking rope and I cannot do this anymore. But like, either way, why wouldn't you want to be divorced from that person? If somebody don't want you, why do you want them to stay? Single fathers are statistically better parents. Where? Send me those statistics, please. If you don't mind, what is a 50-50 relationship for you? I'll tell you. A 50-50 relationship starts with, and then I have to go, y'all. But a 50-50 relationship starts with a man who understands that in society's terms, that y'all don't live in a vacuum, first of all, that your relationship does not exist in a vacuum. He understands that throughout your career, you will be consistently paid less than him. He understands that throughout your career, you're going to face glass ceilings and SH and all sorts of stuff that he doesn't have to deal with. He understands that y'all don't live in a vacuum where you can ignore the physical realities of like being a man and a woman in today's society. For example, he doesn't have to take birth control. You do. And most women only take birth control because their boyfriend or partner refuses to wear protection. So he would have to start off understanding all of those things. And so the relationship, if you're with a good man, is not going to look like 50-50. It's going to look like him trying to even out that deficit, first and foremost, right? Like on days when I have my period, my husband is not like, oh, well, that's just like, that's not my fault. I didn't create you. I didn't make it like that. He's like, damn, babe, that sucks. That sucks that every month you go through the worst thing I can even imagine. That sucks. So here's what I'm going to do because I love you and I like you. You just take care of yourself. You do nothing. I'll do everything else because that's the value he brings. So if I were to live alone, right, I would still have to do things despite me being on my period or not, or I would have to do a lot more planning than I currently do now. Because as soon as that shit starts and I know I'm about to get my like 11 out of 10 cramps, I can just shoot my husband a text, give him a call, whatever, and he's gonna know what to do and he's gonna take over. Now, does that look like 50-50? Is there a day every single month where I take everything off of his plate and like he doesn't have to lift a finger unless he's sick? No. Unless he's sick, no. I don't do that every single month for him. You know why? Because there's no reason. There's no reason for me to do that. But he understands the inequities and he understands that like 50-50 doesn't start at zero. There's certain privileges that he starts with and certain detriments that society forces me to start with or biology forces me to start with. And because he likes and loves me, he does things to mitigate that in addition to the value that he brings, right? Beyond and above that, it's not even 50-50. It's like 100 with us. You know what I mean? We want the same things out of life. And so we just contribute to what we want to happen. And in that way, we like manifest it. But both of us have to be working hard. And I'm not the one that's like dragging both of us on her shoulders. You know what I mean? Like, we're just like, it's so hard to explain a healthy relationship when most of what we see is like parasitic because it's not like it's a lot more nuanced than people think. But because of that, we have like an equitable relationship. It's not 50-50. Like men really confuse this concept. Like 50-50 means a certain thing. If a man likes you and loves you, he's going to understand things. He's going to have empathy for things that other men think you should just suffer with. Does that make sense? Caleb says, I'm surprised you have a husband. I'm not. I'm not. Do you know how many men still want to be my husband? Y'all should see my DMs sometimes because you wouldn't be surprised at all. There's so many men that watch all of my content and just go running to my fucking DMs. Hey, beautiful. Like, that's what I mean is like women's value does not need to be spoken on like men's value. Like men always have to justify how they're so valuable, and like they don't understand that in the same breath, right? They'll be like, "Oh yeah, but I can't let my girl outside." Like, yeah, it's because she's desirable. She brings something to the table that all men want. Like, you know what I mean? Like, come on. Desperalta says, and let me guess, you need half his money, right? That's where you're wrong. I need all of his money. Kitty says, finding a man is the easiest thing in the world. Finding a decent one is what's a needle in a haystack. Exactly. Finding a man is so fucking easy. Are you agreeing with the question or no? Because I'm confused. I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying he finds my presence so valuable that he literally doesn't even withhold half his money from me. His money is our money and my money is my money. That's why the question that y'all keep asking, what do women bring to the table? It's already been answered by your fellow men. What do I bring to the table? Enough. Enough. It's a quality. It's like a quality that I can't explain to y'all because y'all don't have it. So you sit here wondering, what do women bring to the table? Meanwhile, y'all are the ones asking women to the table. Y'all are the ones that's like, where are the women at? Where are the girls at? Why would I go to a party or a club where it's a sausage fest? I don't want a sausage fest. Y'all don't want to be around other men. And the ones that do, it's for sexual reasons, hidden sexual reasons. Same reason some of y'all want to be around women. Men are motivated by that kind of stuff. So there's that. That's what women bring to the table. And also the fact that, again, have you seen a man living alone and a woman living alone? Women bring stuff to their own table. Women don't even need to wait for a man to bring stuff to the table to live in a nice, clean, healthy, enjoyable space. Women don't need men to bring that to the table. Men will live in squalor, sleeping on a twin-size mattress in the corner of a room until a woman comes along. That's what women bring to the table. Y'all just sit here and wait. Like, if a man insisted on withholding half of his money from me, that's the worst kind of 50-50 I can imagine. Do you know what I mean? Because what does a man need money for? DJ Fergus says, in response to what do men bring to the table, fatherhood, the yin to your yang. You're thinking of the twins. It's actually yin and yang. A new perspective, emotional support, humor, practicality. That would be nice, wouldn't it, ladies? That's what a good man brings to the table, but that's why we have that distinction, right? That's why we say, well, we're talking about the good men here. This is rare. And most of it can be disproven statistically. So fatherhood, how many single mothers are there out there? So what men are bringing fatherhood to the table? Also, fatherhood, have y'all seen those videos where they stop and ask the fathers what their daughter's eye color is and they don't know? The daughter standing right next to them, they don't know what her eye color is. That's the fatherhood that you're talking about. How many men even know what like after school sports or activities their kids are involved in? They'll be stopping these men on the streets that are supposedly good, amazing, excellent fathers. Be like, what grade is your child in? And they don't know. What's your child's birthday? They don't know. Does your child have any allergies? No. And then the child will be like, I am deathly allergic to a couple things, actually. So what fatherhood are you bringing to the table? The yin to your yang, are you referring to like the Rick and Chelsea thing? That's the yin to the yang that a lot of men bring, is like the pain to your hope. If you don't know, that's a White Lotus reference. I'm not going to go into it. If you want to hear my White Lotus takes, I will be on F the Nice Guy podcast next week, and we're doing a whole White Lotus breakdown. Well, we already did it. I just assume it's coming out next week. A new perspective of like what perspective can men bring to women who arguably experience so much more than men. Like women experience giving life. What new perspective are you going to tell a woman who has given life? Emotional support, where? Humor, where? Practicality, where? I'm just asking, like, because this is like, yeah, that ideally that's what a man would bring to the table. Most women don't have this. Yeah, men have concepts of a plan, concepts of what they bring to the table. Robert says the problem with the logic is women bring themselves, but men have to bring more than themselves. This is what fucking pisses me off, Robert. So when you say that women bring themselves, this is how you make our labor invisible. And I really do have to go after this, y'all, because my phone's about to die. But like, when you say that women bring themselves, that's how you make our labor invisible. Because women don't just bring themselves, they carry and birth children for y'all. That's a huge thing. They cook, clean, keep house, they bring emotional intelligence. All of those things are not things that exist, are not things that women are born with. Like, these are learned skills and they are valuable. Once again, I'm explaining to y'all, therapists get paid a lot. Surrogates get paid a lot. Nannies get paid a lot. Maids get paid a lot. Private chefs get paid a lot. And y'all dumbass men are over here erasing our value every single day. Oh, women just bring themselves. You know what it would look like for a woman to just bring herself to the table? Y'all don't like that. Y'all don't like that when women just bring themselves to the table. Go listen to Shira 7. That's a woman who says she brings nothing to the table, and yet she still brings something to the table. She still provides value to her husband. So, no, women don't just bring themselves, you idiots. Women bring cold, hard value and labor to the table. That's what y'all don't understand. And y'all bring 8 hours of work every day. Oh, I go to work. You'd have to go to work anyway. You know what a woman wouldn't have to do unless she was with a man? She wouldn't have to wash the skid marks out of somebody's underwear. She wouldn't have to do somebody's laundry or make their coffee in the morning or make a elaborate hot meal for them every night. She would have an easier life. Like, y'all hurt my soul, honestly. This is why y'all are in a loneliness epidemic. This is why y'all are going absolutely nowhere. Because women know this. Like, the jig is up. I'm telling you. You can try to gaslight us all you want, but our value, our labor has now been valued by the market at a high price. You have not. At the same time that men's value has been valued by the market at a very low price. The most abundant and least valuable thing in all of the world is peen and male attention. I get male attention everywhere I go. Man, the chat is hot today. I love y'all, but my phone is about to die. Eva, thank you so much. Thanks, y'all. All right, y'all. I love you so much. I'm going to go before my phone dies so that this live can get saved properly. I will edit it and put it on YouTube after I finish editing my other live that needs to go up on YouTube about the male loneliness epidemic. But I'll see y'all there. I love you so much. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the love. I'll see y'all next time. Godspeed.